Yeah, 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 yeah. Step into the bayou where the chatter gets wild. Truth served fresh with a wink and a smile. From gators to gumbo, it's a party. Let's sing. Welcome to the show. It's Bada Bing. We got flavors of the South with a 90s vibe. Stories roll deep and the beats arrive. Grab a seat, feel the heat, let the good times flow. It's the Bayou Jammin', ready, set, go. Bada Bing Bayou, the stories unfold. Where the swamp's alive and the truth is bold. Tune in, lean in, the vibe's so dope. Bayou beats in your ear, we the crew you'll quote.
Ciao a tutti.
Or as we say in Louisiana, hey y'all.
My name is Patrick Ross Campisi,
And I'm Lawrence Joseph Ingraffia,
and you are listening to
the Bada Bing Bayou podcast. But this isn't just your ordinary Bada Bing Bayou production. Patrick, what do we have tonight?
Tonight. We are starting the first of a new segment or series in Bada Bing called Negroni Nights.
That's right, Negroni Nights. So Negroni Nights, the concept behind Negroni Nights is that this is a kind of an irreverent conversation that you would have with someone at a bar. Perhaps a friend, perhaps a lover, we don't know. But this is what this is.
The idea behind Negroni Nights was something that's a little bit more casual, a little bit more informal from the traditional Bada Bing Bayou production. Really, I think for us, it was how we got started with Bada Bing. The idea of it, the name to the idea of what the actual topic of the conversation was going to be about, and a lot of the just the fun, like even the hat you're wearing right now, I think we came up with over Negroni. And there's another one.
Did.
We still are working on. We teased it in a previous episode. Mr. Negroni is on his way. We are in the works of getting Mr. Negroni hats and shirts. So stay tuned to see the great production that Lawrence Joseph Ingraffia will have provided for all of us. With Mr.
I can't take full credit for this because the one and only Mr. Negroni is Patrick's brainchild. I just executed his artistic vision.
Look, ChatGPT was a great starting place for us, but you have taken it to the finish line for sure.
I'm happy to do so.
So with Negroni Nights, obviously it won't be a Negroni night if we don't have a Negroni. So
without
Lawrence,
a Negroni.
Salute, and to all of you who might have Negronis out there. Salute to you as well.
Salute. This one is for you, but this one's for me.
So in Negroni Nights, today we want to talk about how we got started with Bada Bing, our experience and trial and error and getting the episodes up and running, getting the equipment. I mean, just from square one, really, how we got started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as you may have surmised by now, which I would hope that most of you have, if you have above average deductive reasoning skills, you would have figured out that given the topic of tonight's conversation and the new series that we're launching, you would probably have guessed that a lot of the ideas and a lot of the why behind Bada Bing Bayou all started because of Patrick and I having many a Negroni.
Exactly. It's Lawrence. I mean, we talked about it in previous episodes on the main podcast. Lawrence and I met in the Italian American world back in Louisiana and St. Expedite Lodge, the Order ISDA Lodge in Baton Rouge. And from there, I think we connected over Negroni. If it might have been a whiskey at that event at the Serrata.
I think that's right.
It started with the whiskey, but it very quickly moved to a Negroni. We have a little watering hole in Baton Rouge called Hayride Scandal. If you're ever in the area, definitely go check it out. One of the best Negronis in Baton Rouge, hands down. Might even be in the state because they do a really good job over there.
I was about to say, you said might be the best in Baton Rouge. I was about to say might be the best, period.
Yeah, some of the best, not only because of the drink, but the atmosphere. I think is conducive to conversations that we're going to have on this podcast, and really with this series, and also the conversations that got us to this point, right?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I think one of the most, a lot of what we do on the podcast, a lot of that. The stuff that you guys don't get to see is, me and Patrick, back when Patrick was still in Louisiana and, we were coming up with all these ideas, was many a Negroni was had, but it only starts with one. But just kicking back, having a Negroni, brainstorming, bouncing ideas off of one another, Um, yeah, I mean, and here we are now. But
Looking back on it, the inception of this idea was at IFL in January of this year, which is crazy that it's almost 10 months since that time that we've been doing this.
I know.
But it started there. Lawrence and I mean, we might have tossed the idea out around before IFL, but I think it really got solidified there. Seeing the passion of everybody, saying that, look, nobody is telling the story of those in the South and
No,
Louisiana specifically, but as Lawrence always says, the Gulf Coast. They talk about the West Coast and the East Coast, but they never talk about the Gulf Coast.
that's right.
We wanted to, in the way that we can, right? We can't fully encompass everybody down here, but we wanted to, in our own way, cover the topics and the stories more specifically and importantly of the Italian and Sicilian Americans down in the South.
That's
Right.
right. And I think on that note, this is not to take away anything from the rest of the Paisani out there south of the Mason-Dixon line, but if you're going to talk about the culture, the Italian American, the Sicilian American culture in the South, I think it's only fitting that it's two guys from Louisiana whose families both immigrated through the port of New Orleans and settled in Louisiana.
Well, if you think about it, the port of New Orleans was the first port where Sicilians and Italians immigrated into the states.
That's what I'm saying.
Even
Yeah,
before Ellis Island, it was New
right.
Orleans.
That's what I'm saying. It was the epicenter. I mean,
Yeah,
that was it.
exactly.
Hmm.
So what we hope, what we're going to get to, I know we're kind of walking in circles here, but there's so much to unpack in this because I think the story of us getting here, it probably preceded us by many years of other people who maybe had the idea but didn't have the means. There weren't podcasts. It wasn't as popular back in the day to tell these stories. But I think what's really fitting about this series in particular is you get to see for Lawrence and I what those conversations actually looked like in us leading up to this point and obviously moving forward. But, over a Negroni, things might get a little
Hmm.
passionate, things might be quick. It's going to be very, very raw and real. I think that's what's the most exciting part about this series is
Yeah,
it's going to be as real as it can get.
that's right. Raw, real, and casual.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So going into it, we started at IFL talking about the idea. So that's January. In
We did.
February, I remember it was Mardi Gras. It was Mardi Gras. You and I, we were in Baton Rouge and we were having drinks naturally on Mardi Gras. We weren't going to New Orleans; it's too crazy. But we had a lot of momentum following IFL, a lot of ideas going back and forth for SIA, even for the podcast. And we didn't have an idea. I forget. We went through like pages of legal notepads of different ideas of names for the
Oh, I
podcast.
know. I
We
still I still have it. It's somewhere. I mean, now my spare bedroom turned office slash podcast studio is the storage room. So now, whereas there were legal pads dotting the landscape, we have all of the podcast equipment.
and we'll have more behind the scenes moving forward as like what the making of the episodes, the creation of the topics, and all of that stuff. We'll be adding some of that in on our social media, but um, getting up on Mardi Gras. So we had really solidified. I think no, it was going to be It's All Gravy. That was
That's
the
right.
original name was going to be It's All Gravy because in the South we call our red sauce red gravy, and
That's right.
I would die on that hill, as Lawrence would say. Um, so we
It's a
had
good
that.
hill to die on.
It's the only hill to die on.
I mean, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I have many hills that I will die on. It's a mountain range.
So we were talking about it that night, Mardi Gras, and I think like a week later, we went to a place in Baton Rouge called the Chimes
It was
at
the
the
Chimes.
rooftop bar or restaurant and bar. We sat
Yes,
outside. I had my iPad. Lawrence had his legal pad, and we were just going again. Ideas for names for it, ideas for topics, and just because we have to hash it out. I mean, it wasn't going to come like that.
oh yeah,
Um,
and people like don't think that this just happened in an instant. This was probably a 2 week long process of me and Patrick just going back and forth, bouncing ideas for the name off of one another. It didn't happen overnight. It did not materialize that way. It's not all sunshine and gravy, right?
it is not. It was not, but it
That's
was
right.
exciting enough that we just kept moving forward with it. I remember
Hmm.
I was sitting in my old apartment in my office there, working on the intro video that y'all now see on the podcast. Lawrence was sitting next to me, and our friend Madeline Dernan, give
Hmm.
her a shout out. She
Yes.
came up with the name Bada Bing Bayou. And
Madeline, yeah, Madeline. I think she's only ever maybe watched a few episodes of The Sopranos, but I think one of the names, Patrick, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that we were floating around was Sicilian Bayou,
I think we were.
and Madeline, to her credit, was like, "Wait a minute, Bada Bing Bayou," and the moment she said it, we were like, "Son of a bitch, that's it."
Yeah, that was it. It was just it just made sense. It's like our
Oh,
eyes opened. We took the red
yeah,
pill, the Matrix.
yeah,
We could see
exactly,
everything.
exactly.
And really, things kicked off from there. I mean, I think we had that momentum and that excitement
Hmm.
of like, this is it. So now we knew how. Oh, that night we came up with the logo, which you have on your hat.
That's right.
Well, we came up with everything. I think the next week we kicked off recording episodes. So we were recording for months before we even released because we
That's
wanted to
right.
have a backlog of episodes that we could release because we knew we weren't going to have time to do it every single day, right? We
No,
still
two
have
working
real
professionals. Yeah, I mean, this is a passion project for both you and I.
exactly. Um, so yeah, I mean that's how we got started. And then with my background in music and audio and visual productions, helped. Well, we got microphones. This is an old mic, so it's not the best, but got
But doesn't it look
microphones.
cool? It's so cool. It's got like a nice vintage patina.
Actually, I can't take credit
So
for this.
good.
This is my drummer's mic that I have borrowed for the time being, but we borrow mics back and forth, so it's fine. But we got mics. Lawrence got the camera. We got light. I had lights, so we're already good there.
Yeah,
And I mean, there's still stuff we need to add to the ambiance, if you will, of our podcast studio. But I think from where we're at right now, like we've got a system down, and we're still learning, right?
of
Just keep
course.
that in mind. But I think we're at a good point right now. And honestly, it's been one of my highlights, especially coming back home. Like I'm coming back this weekend to
I
film
know.
episodes.
I know. And on the note about filming episodes, one of our guests that we'll have on that we'll be interviewing on Saturday. He pretty much, whenever I was speaking with him earlier today, said that he's going to give me a key and the code to this facility, which you will get to see. Tune into the episode, you'll get to see it whenever we interview him, and you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Patrick, he was like, "Yeah, if y'all ever want to just come, like, do interviews with anybody here, like, you just let me know."
That's
And I was
awesome.
like, "Oh my god, that is so generous of you."
Well, y'all gonna see that the venue that Lawrence is talking about really is an historic venue for Sicilian Americans in South
Yeah,
Louisiana. So we're excited for that episode. Definitely tune
that's
in.
right.
It'll be out in a couple of weeks. But
Hmm.
we also want to throw out there, for those who are listening, um, let us like we have our people that we know their stories, and we say these people need to be heard. Right? There's
Right.
people that we both got queued up for our interviews that their stories because everybody hears the stories of those in the Northeast, and again, not to disparage or put down, like you just said, those outside of the South, above the Mason-Dixon line, or even to the west. There are people in the South Louisiana and just in the Gulf South that proud Italian Americans who have done a lot that their story will never get heard unless they have a
No,
platform to do that. So if y'all
no.
have people outside of the ones that we already have, let us know. Help connect us with them. We would love to interview them, tell their story, just get the word out because you and I, Lawrence and I, are very convinced and convicted in the idea that these stories need to be told.
They absolutely do. And that's not to like Patrick said, it's not to discredit or disparage anybody in the Northeast, but I mean that's the highest concentration of Italian Americans in the United States of America. And so when you have so many Italian Americans per capita that are all located in a central location in these major metropolitan areas, they have a lot of people to pick from. And so naturally, maybe, they're going to exhaust all of those options before they start looking elsewhere to get these people to come on there, to tell their stories, to talk about what it means to be Italian American, what it means to be Sicilian American, and how they got to where they are today, and all the sacrifices that they made along the way, all the sacrifices that their family made along the way. And so, that was really, going back to what we were talking about earlier, not to bring this, full circle, but this might be a full circle moment, is that, you know, um, Patrick and I want to highlight the experiences and the stories of the Italian and Sicilian Americans in Louisiana and all throughout the Gulf South, because, you know, these stories are valuable. There are a lot of lessons to be learned. There's a lot of love to give. And, you know, like Patrick said, and he couldn't have said any better, these are stories that deserve to be told because, you know, this is something that you and I can relate to, right, Patrick?
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, like we can't relate to growing up in a major metropolitan area like New York City or
No.
Chicago or Philadelphia. But we do know what it's like to grow up in small town Louisiana, whose family, you know, were sugarcane farmers or were strawberry farmers or who owned the grocery store, you know, in the local downtown area. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's our why.
Yeah.
You know, if ever people ask the question like, "What's your why?" That's our why.
Man, I could not have said it better myself. And honestly, I think that's the perfect way to wrap up this pilot episode of Negroni Nights.
That's right.
So, everybody, this has been Negroni Nights. I am Patrick Campisi.
And I'm Lawrence Joseph and Graffia.
Ciao for now.
Y'all come back now.